Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you with my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Welcome to the show.
Greetings and blessings, and as always, Robert, thank you so much. And we thank all of you who are out there, and we greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And thanks for coming and hanging out. We got two
Absolutely.
stories tonight, too, by the way. So,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Tonight we're going to be talking about um, uh, Red Cloud's War. We're going to be talking about Red Cloud. Who is Red Cloud? A spin-off from Sitting Bull. Um, because that's did Sitting Bull, but Sitting Bull, he had a guy who was ahead of him, who was fighting, and he was the leader. He was kind of things were going on before things. You know what I mean. Anyway, he was the kind of the start of it all. And we got things to share with you too. What do you know about Sitting Bull yourself here? While I try to get my stuff ready. I mean, I know he was a chief. He had things going on. I want to get one of these maps up. I got to get a map so I can show you
um,
guys.
mostly what I know about Sitting Bull, which is
Or not Sitting
very.
Bull, Red Cloud. Sorry, Red Cloud. We're going to be talking about Red
Oh,
Cloud.
Red Cloud. Oh,
Sorry. I mean, we talked about Sitting Bull, but that was a problem. Sorry, I got the two guys messed up. I'm tired.
that's all right. You got the word behind your head. I can. That'll remind me who we're talking about.
Yeah, Red Cloud, and then I'll tell you a few things that I know about Red Cloud.
Only that Red Cloud was a. I'm not sure what tribe he was with. Could you help me
He
on that?
he was an Ogallala Sioux.
Yeah, Oglala.
Yeah, Ogallala Sioux. Yes, very much so.
Yeah, and from what I know, that he was a very brave warrior, and most folks looked up to him, and he worked with the other chiefs, but he was very much respected within it, within who he was.
Yes, he was. Um, I'm trying to get the maps put together here for us because we've got to have
And
some maps.
I don't think that Red Cloud was one of those. Um, he was more on the compassionate side than he was on the savage side, I think.
Oh yeah. He was from what I read, he was the more of a let's take it easy, let's think it over before we make a move kind of guy. He wasn't jumping into things like guys like um, Sitting Bull, or Crazy Horse. Those guys wanted to go out and fight. They wanted to fight.
Yeah, they just
And
wanted to dive right in.
yes, and that was a problem for him. He wanted to sit back but I think these other guys had a point because in their point was is that they kind of realized that the U.S. Army wasn't going to stop. They weren't going to, say, oh, we'll just take a break because the way things worked for the Indian was, and this kind of sounds funny, but they did. They they wanted to go to spring. They had the buffalo hunt, and in the summertime it was fighting time. You make war on your enemies, and then of course fall buffalo hunt, and then what do you do in the winter? You sit around, you relax, you do nothing. You get fat on the buffalo meat. You try to survive the winter. Of course,
That's right. Try to survive the winter.
yeah, because
And that
where do
was a
you?
chore. And that was a
Yeah,
chore.
um, because what are you doing? You're surviving in frozen land. And that's kind of what it is. It's
In a
the
teepee with very little wood on the plains.
yes, you're burning buffalo chips, and that sounds all fun and dandy, but you think those buffalo chips don't smell? Of course they do. And you're not, oh, how do I want to say? You're getting, there's a lot of work to collect them, and then when it's cold and wintry out, it's a big deal. That's all I can say. It's a big deal living out there, and that's why they just lived. And oh, I got to get these maps. Anyway, until spring came along, then you'd go for a buffalo hunt again, and you're all thing is too is you're all rested up. You got hurt in battle, and in hunting buffalo, you could get hurt too. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world. Killing a buffalo was a hard job, and you could get killed. Your horse could fall, the buffalo would run you over, and you're dead. Break your arm, your leg out there in the West back in those days, you're dead. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, just living was
Yes,
hard.
living was
Let
hard.
alone, going on a hunt or whatever. I mean, living was just hard. And so a lot of folks just, pioneers, they were like, okay, they had houses and such, but went out on the prairie and out on the plains, and they were, I say they were comfortable with the way they lived, as long as they had their resources like the buffalo. I'm not sure, but I think a lot of the Indians had used buffalo fat,
Yes,
and
well,
uh, to make oil and oil lamps and things like that. But that don't really keep you warm,
no,
but you can
no.
huddle around one of those little lamps if you're freezing to death. But anyway, but I mean,
Yeah.
so they took all the buffalo and they had no buffalo fat to render to turn into oil, and one thing led to another, and.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a dog eat dog world. I mean, you didn't really have much. I mean, think about it, out on the plains. It ain't like you can like go collect firewood like you said, and you can't really grow crops out there. I mean, you can't do a lot of things. You're stifled. You're living off of buffalo. A few weeds and things that you pick. You're gathering up, and eating birds, grouse, prairie chickens, things like that. It's not, bountiful anyway. You're living off that buffalo. You smoke it, you dry it, and in the winter you do little to conserve your energy. Put it that way, right?
Yep. For
So
what they couldn't freeze or put up, they turned it into jerky. And then so jerky, most people don't know, but if you do it right, you can put it in a stew, and it'll fatten back up some, but it
yeah,
will dang sure give a stew some flavor.
yeah,
So and the one of the things that started many long time ago, and not sure, but there were some who had a soup stone, and
oh yeah,
when all else failed, they they would put in this soup stone when they were cooking regular stuff. When things were bountiful and they had a good stew and lots of stuff in it, they'd put in their soup stone. And then when times were rough, they took the soup stone and put it in some water and maybe a potato, and it would kick out, it would kick the stone would kick the flavor into the soup. So, but anyway, I
yes,
don't know
yes it
why I
would.
thought of that. I just remember the wonderful soup stone. There was a song back in the
Oh,
60s, the
yeah, I've
wonderful
heard.
soup stone.
I've heard of the soup stone before. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good philosophy. I mean, but we've given all that up because, well, we just reach for the Campbell's soup on the shelf with a can and call it good.
Yep,
And how many people do you know even make soup anymore by hand? Most
yep,
people don't. And if they did, I don't even know if most people would know how to make soup. This sounds easy, but not happening.
it ain't that
Anyway.
hard.
No, no, it is not. Okay, I am ready. Sorry, everybody. I was running a little bit late today, and because of that, I didn't get to get everything quite situated. Look at that. Hey, Elderberry. There's Elderberry. Scotty Boy says they're living off rabbits, rabbits. Yes. Elderberry, Scotty Boy, Nina the Mystic's in the house, and
Killed the rabbit.
Lucky Stone. There you go. Anyway, thank you all for being here. There's Susie Q. She's popping in. Thumbs up, she says. Have a wonderful show. Much love and favor to you all. Thank you. Thank you. Yep, Scotty says he can make soup. It's easy. Yes, soup is really easy. Elderberry says, I've studied how they make a stage for drying jerky and cutting the meat. That's very interesting. Yeah, there's Richard. There you go. Hey, hiya, Hawkeye.
Hey, Richard, Barry, everybody, Scotty boy.
Max Vision's in the house. Hey, there you go. Thanks for
Hey,
showing
Max,
up.
how you doing?
We're gonna be
How's
talking
your
about.
vision? I've been to the eye doctor and I'm doing okay.
Good deal. Um, okay, we got. Oh, there we go. Red Cloud. Anyway, he's one of the most famous Indians. Oglala Sioux. Um, he, yeah, they got, for being back in the day, they do got a lot of pictures of him. Of course, he did take trips to Washington to meet with the president and, all these other guys too out there because they were trying to make a treaty um, with the Indians because they had Red Cloud's War, the Fetterman fight. If you haven't heard about it, it's quite the fight. It was one of the times that the U.S. Army was getting beat. And that's the thing. The Sioux were fierce warriors because they had horses. And they were coming around to the point where they did have some guns, but they were fierce warriors. They knew the tactic of guerrilla warfare. And that's kind of how they were winning the war. They would strike, destroy, kill everybody. The babies, they couldn't take care of the babies. They just smashed their head. People, this is going to get a little graphic. Um, so beware. They would,
Rated R.
yes, they would smash their heads in. Women, they would rape them. They would kill them. Men, they just kill them, scalp them. Women too. They didn't care. Sometimes if they were middle-aged, whatever, they would take them. If they were young, they could do things. They would take them. Sometimes they would ransom. They would hold them for ransom, and actually collect on it. Indians were, uh, they did things kind of different than we would do. If you were going through their territory and you weren't violent to them, they may charge you a tax to go through their territory by, hey, we need a wagon full of goods and you can pass, but you got to go this way and you got to take that route. I don't want you going this way. You can go that way, but this is you pay the tax. We want, five cows and a wagon full of goods, and you can be on your way, or we'll kill you, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And why were they mad? That was the next thing. Why were the Indians all riled up in the first place? They were riled up because of the white man, and he was out there making a road through your country. And along the way on this road, he was shooting all the buffalo he could so he could survive. He was shooting the elk, the deer, the prairie chickens, the pheasants, anything that they needed. They were throwing their garbage along the way. They just littered the road. Oh, hey, that's what we do nowadays. We throw our garbage out the window and litter the road. And they were doing it back then. Nothing has changed for the white man. But but These Indians were mad. And why shouldn't they be? Um, and of course, as you notice the date here, this is a key thing. The date is 1866. And you know what that means? It means the Civil War was over. Okay? And then since the Civil War was over, you got all these people who are displaced. You got all, people wanting to get out of the burnt down towns and cities. They don't want to stick around. You got tons of soldiers now, but you got one big thing that everybody neglects to talk about. That is, the government was broke. Our government was broke and they needed money. Now, back in the day, money was backed by what was it backed by?
Gold.
That's right, gold.
And
Bingo.
silver.
Gold and silver. You are so right. Okay, so what happened is that they realized there was gold in the Black Hills, and they sent people out there, and they were going out there to on the Bozeman Trail. I think I got a picture of this somewhere.
I've been to Bozeman, Montana.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I have too. It's a great place to go. Anyway, okay, the Bozeman Trail. Now this here's the Oregon Trail, which kind of stays out of the way.
Which one? The green one?
The green one, yes, the green one.
Okay, because and my screen's small.
Okay, so what happened is they built this road. It's called the Bozeman Trail. And along this road, it went up into the Montana territory where there was gold. And it went right through the Bighorn Mountains and the Black Hills area. And, that just tells you you're going to piss some people off because this is their area. Here's the Little Bighorn River. Boom. The Bighorn Mountains. And, you got the Bighorn Mountains and you got the Black Hills. So between the Black Hills and the Bighorn Mountains is right where these guys lived. They loved that territory. The buffalo, that was their hunting grounds, things like that. They found gold, and the government encouraged people to go out there and get the gold because the government needed the gold. Because you're going to sell it. You're going to sell your gold to whatever, and that goes back to the government so they can print more money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
More gold, so the U.S. is looking to get their wealth back. Okay, so let's see. I gotta do.
I want to interject something here.
Yeah, go ahead. Go right ahead.
If the white man was in his incursion into Indian territory, and one of the great things, and we have discussed this before. I think I've mentioned it, but the native folk feel differently about Mother Earth.
Yes.
And so it wasn't just the white man, but it was also the white man and the white man ways. So they, it's like, well, you can get pissed off at people moving into your neighborhood, but if they're tearing up the streets or they're robbing you or something like that, and they're pushing you around and shooting grandma, which was sort of what was going on, and so it's like they were mad from an internally that made them savage. But the white man had the same thing when he was being incursioned. I mean, think about what they did to each other during the Civil War, for crying out loud. They didn't scalp each other, but it was brutal, in hand-to-hand combat and shooting each other and just yuck. So but so the native folk, they were mad from their guts, if you can understand what I mean by that.
Yeah.
It just wasn't like a superficial pissed off. No, they were gut wrenching, And the fact
It
that,
was. It was.
by this time, many of, there'd been many of their kind killed, and the white man just kept coming, and that just kept making them more mad. So you have to understand, it just wasn't, oh, the white guys went over there and wanted to parlay, and and they got ticked off. Nah, it wasn't like that. It was a lot more intense, especially
Oh,
by
it
the
was.
Indian.
It was because out on the plains, there's not many trees, for
There's
instance.
not much of nothing. That was the
Yeah.
other thing I was going to say. When my brother and I were out there, when we left the Black Hills, you kind of go by what's that big tall mound thing
Yeah.
that
That's
sticks
the
up? Devil's Tower. The Devil's Tower. And from Devil's Tower out to Montana, it's just pretty much flat and plains. There ain't a lot of stuff. And then when you get to Bozeman and from there, then you hit the mountains again. But there
Mhm.
aren't mountains between the Black Hills and over around Bozeman.
Yeah.
So a lot of plains with not much there. Beautiful
Yeah.
country.
Hmm. So that's true. So what happened is the Red Cloud was saying that they come into my territory, they cut down my oak trees that are along the riverbanks. I like the oak trees. I like to sit there and the birds and things and everything. And they cut down all the trees that we have, and then they leave their garbage. They shoot our buffalo. This is what they were pissed off about. They settle our territory. They build their cabins. They pan for their gold, and they don't care about nothing. They don't. They don't share. They're not friendly. And that's true because it's like, hey, this is my land. Well, anyway, Red Cloud got the Indians together. Um, he got a lot of them together. And they were building these forts. Here's what the deal was. Along that Bozeman Trail, they set this guy out, because the Civil War was over. They had a lot of men and they didn't know what to do with them all. So they sent him out to build these forts along the road to, Bozeman and along the Bozeman Trail. So these guys were going out and building these forts. Well, what do you think they're doing? This is all made of wood. They're cutting down all the trees. Here's some Indian art. Anyway, okay, here's what he says. Red Cloud. We were told that the troops, wished to merely pass through our country, to seek for gold in the far west. Yet before the ashes of the council fire was cold, the great father is building his forts among us. You have heard the sound of the white soldier's axe upon the little piney. His presence here is an insult to the spirits of our ancestors.
There you go.
Are we then to give up their sacred graves to be plowed for corn in the Dakotas? I am for war. This was a speech at the council at Fort Laramie. That's where the Fort Laramie Treaty was signed. And let's see, we're going to go. I think I got a picture of the Fort Laramie Treaty, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, sorry. These are the Sioux Reservation. This is the land. But at one point in time, I should say, he had they said that Red Cloud was in charge. Why is this one keeping up? That ain't the one I tapped. That he was in charge of 740 million acres, is what he claimed. And this is the Treaty of Fort Laramie in 1851 to 1868. Now, they signed this treaty and said, this is your land. We're going to stay the hell off of it. We're not going to come there. Have at her, right? But see the dates, 1851 to 1868. Well, in 1851, they were rolling up to get to the Civil War. And of course, during the Civil War, you ain't caring about what's going on out west. It's quiet. You ain't sending troops. You're trying to fight off Mexico, who's trying to, because you're trying to get Texas back, and you're trying to keep the Civil War going, and you just don't. You're spreading yourself too thin. So who cares about the Indians, right?
Right. There was, they went as far as Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas. There wasn't a lot more push of the Civil War further west than that.
Yeah. So let's see. What do I got here? I got uh, here's a little bit about it. Okay. Uh, he was born in a time of great pain and suffering. The Red Cloud was one of the most important chiefs in the Ogallala Sioux tribe. Sorry if I mispronounced it. Often he was mistaken as the main leader of the Sioux tribes and was one of the last living chiefs at the time when he died. He died in 1908, believe it or not. He was born in 1822. Believe it or not. He lived a long time, 88 years old. Um, with schools and statues erected in his honor. Because he was famous. He was born with the name of I can't pronounce this Mahaipaluta, which translates into Red Cloud. Born near which is now present day Nebraska, Red Cloud was the son of an Ogallala Sioux woman named Walks as She Thinks, and his father, Lone Man, who was a Brule Sioux. Um, so there you go. So where is it? Nebraska? So he was born somewhere down here by the Platte River area in Nebraska, believe it or not. They named him after strange weather phenomenon which caused the clouds to appear red, hence the name Red Cloud. When he was around 5, Red Cloud's father passed away into the spirit world. Following his father's death, Red Cloud was raised by his mother, his uncle, and Ogallala Sioux leader named Smoke. At a young age, Red Cloud sought to distinguish himself as a warrior. He became a fine horseman, a good swimmer, and a hunter, and demonstrated great bravery in the Ogallala battles and other tribes, including the Pawnees. And they did. They had a fight with the Pawnees and almost wiped them out. The Sioux did. And that's why the Pawnee always joined up with the U.S. military. This is a quick note fact, is because they always were seeking revenge against the Sioux for almost wiping them out. Believe it or not. At about 16 years of age, Red Cloud had already broken many horses, became a great hunter and warrior. One day, Red Cloud followed a lone buffalo into the Badlands where his fellow mates could not hear or see him. After killing the buffalo, he scanned the area for any rival tribes that might attack him while he was cutting up the meat for packing. Well, anyway, trouble was nearby. Suddenly, he heard a loud cry, which sounded like it was over his head. When he tried to war cry back, nothing but terrified scream came out. The loud cry turned out to be his horse, which was behind him, and bears. That was a horse incident. He never forgot the incident. He used it as a way to not be afraid. Around the age of 20 years old, Red Cloud married Pretty Owl. The Diaries of Oshia, I guess that's how you pronounce it, state that was faithful to one wife in all his days. Remember, they could take multiple wives, even though it was acceptable for prominent Sioux men to take more than one wife. He believed to have fathered 5 children to whom he was greatly devoted, especially his son Jack Red Cloud, whom he considered to become a great warrior. Let's see if I got any more here. Hang on. I got some good pictures. Yeah. So we're going to go back to that one. And this is his older years. Of course, there was no photographs during those times, so until later years. After many battles, Red Cloud and his people were on one of the stormiest times in history when General William S. Harney called all the western bands of the Sioux people to Fort Laramie, Wyoming. The meeting was to discuss the agreement between the white men and the Sioux tribes for their land, peace, and a right of way through the hostile territory of the Sioux. Against the wishes of his people and under the influence of whiskey, Chief Bear Bull, yeah, again with the whiskey and the alcohol, Chief Bear Bull talked about submission into the white man's wishes. After his people did not agree with him, he became angry and fired upon a group of his own people. You know, see, this is how things go badly. Among these people was Red Cloud's brother who fell dead. According to these people was Red Cloud's okay, according to the tribe custom is it was up to him to get revenge for the deaths, and calmly, without saying a word, he faced off with Bear Bull and his son, who was trying to protect Bear Bull. He ended up killing both of them, getting his revenge and solidifying his place as leader among his people. That's how he became the leader. Red Cloud was then given a seat next to Old Chief Man Afraid of His Horse. In 1854, Red Cloud and his people. Okay, I got a new slide. Always got these good slides, don't I? Red Cloud and his people um, camped outside of Fort Laramie. An immigrant train moving westward had left a footsore cow behind which a young man had killed in order to get food. The next day, an inexperienced Lieutenant Granton, with about 30 of his men, returned to the camp of 4,000, about 1,200 of them being armed warriors. That is really not a good idea. Taking 30 men into a camp of 4,000. And then drunkenly demanded they give up the young man so he can receive punishment. Of course, you're going to go into the Indian camp drunk and demand you give up the guy so he can get punished. Great plan, right? The old chief conquering bear came and spoke to the man to tell him it was a mistake and they would not they would make it right. For some reason, the officer wanted neither explanation nor to make it right, but just wanted the young man and $25 payment, which back then, $25 was a lot of money. That was a whole month's worth of work, people. The old chief, or better than a whole month's. The
Yeah,
old
because
chief,
some of them only got about $10 a month.
yeah, exactly. The old chief refused to be intimidated and was shot dead on the spot. Yeah, that's the thing to do. Shoot the chief. Don't expect repercussions, right? Following this, Red Cloud led a bloody battle that saw 30 men dead, including the drunken interpreter, thus becoming an open engagement of the First Sioux War. And here is a stone that commemorates the Sioux Indians massacred 29 soldiers with their officer, Brent, Second Lieutenant Granton, on August 19, 1854. Site is half-mile northwest of. Okay, an Indian killed a cow from a Mormon caravan. The detachment of. Yeah, I can't mess with them Mormons. A detachment of soldiers was sent to receive the offender. In the ensuing fight, all soldiers and the chief of the Brules, Sioux Maho away, were killed. And there you go.
Who? What was the name of the officer in charge?
Brevet Second Lieutenant L. Granton. Brendan Granton.
Granton.
Granton. Grattan. Grantan.
Oh wow, that's a name you want to drag through the mud. He
Yeah.
started some mess, didn't he?
Yeah, he started the war.
Yeah.
Go figure.
He had no
Well,
bit. I mean, to go out there and just start it. There's one thing about starting an argument, but he shot the chief dead. What did he expect?
well,
I
that's
mean,
what.
what did he expect? Hey, you some bit, bang. What? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I would be pissed off and want to shoot back. I'd want to kill him right away,
Well,
without a doubt.
exactly.
You just
Exactly.
shot our leader. What? Boom. Where's a rock? Where's a stick? I'm gonna put a hurting on that guy.
Exactly.
Wow.
And see, that's the point is, who is in the right there. This guy, you don't go doing something like that drunk, and then you don't kill the chief. And just like anything else, it's like, how did World War One start? They killed the Grand Duke of something or other,
Yep. And his
and
wife.
yeah,
Yeah.
and his wife. You see, and then that got everybody riled up. Same with World War Two. They burnt. They did some burning down of something, and somebody blamed somebody, and the next thing you know, everybody's riled up, and you're at war. but they need that trigger, and that's what they're saying nowadays is what's going to be the trigger. Will
Well,
they sink? If they sink our battleship, will we retaliate, or we'll just go, don't worry, you got to do something terrible like kill an official or something, and then maybe blow up the Washington building, and then we'll think about it then. You see, and which one is going to spark the fire, right?
yep. And
So
back in those days, if something was fishy, now unfortunately it was a lieutenant, right?
yeah,
Yeah, okay. So this lieutenant, because he was in charge of those 30 men, he was the big boss. He was the kingpin. And, he wanted to show off his stuff, you know what I mean? And so we're gonna go out here and these dang Indians, that they don't, they can't tell me what to do, and we can't, and so the attitude about that, um, you know, um, carried forth. It was sort of like Custer. Custer was in the same way. He was boisterous and hey, but the interesting part of this story is after all these years, it was it wasn't the Indians that started it.
exactly,
I
exactly.
mean, they say that he shot the chief.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And not that the Indians shot any of the soldiers, but that the chief was shot. So that keeps the ballpark. Guess what? It was the army who started the war, not
Most
the
most of
Indians.
most of the time, yeah, we're gonna get to a bunch of that.
But that proves it right there because they haven't changed the narrative. You know what I mean?
No,
They've changed a lot of other stuff that and made things untrue. But the fact that that's still there, you know,
yeah, yeah, oh yeah,
it
yeah,
survived all these years without being changed.
yes, oh
Okay,
exactly.
I'm done.
Okay, okay, then we go to after this, they started the first Sioux War, you should say, also referred to as the Bozeman War or the Powder River War. It was armed conflict between the Lakota, the Northern Cheyenne, and the Northern Arapaho on one side and the United States on the other, over control of Wyoming, Montana territories from 1866 to 1868. The war was fought over control of the western Powder River country in present northern central Wyoming. This grassland, rich in buffalo, was traditionally Crow Indian land, but the Lakota had recently taken control. The Crow tribe held the treaty right to the disputed area according to the agreement reached at Fort Laramie in 1851. All involved in Red Cloud's War were parties in the treaty. In 1863, many European Americans had blazed the Bozeman Trail through the heart of traditional territory of the Cheyenne, the Arapaho, and Lakota. Boy, and here you go. This is the Bozeman Trail, and you can see this goes right through their territory. And if you want to see their territory, I got it right here somewhere. Um, I want to show you their territory. Oh, maybe this is a better picture. Uh, and there we go. Uh, and you see, you're going to go from here to up here, and you're going, basically, all these are overlapping. You're going through everybody's land.
Are
You're
you
going to,
sharing the screen? Because I can't see it.
oh, did it go away? Hmm. Hang on, I gotta get back to you. Oh, I wonder what
It's
happened
a
to that.
mystical picture. Imagine what it
Yeah,
looked.
well, that's the first time that happened. Anyway, good thing you said something because I had it down so I could see the other stuff. Anyway, the point is, I'd like it if your audio is a little louder. See, I told you my audio is just not cutting it tonight. I
But
don't know
it's
why.
fine. But I can hear it just fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm looking at the thing here, and it says, here, I'm gonna adjust it all. Can you hear me now? Okay, I turned up the volume all the way. And I'm going to reduce the mic background away, and maybe that'll help. Maybe I should go with echo. There we go. We'll try that. Maybe that will help. I always worry about that. Yes, super low. Thank you, Chloe. I don't know why my microphone is not working anywhere on this stupid computer. I was working fine over at Nina's, but it's just not working here. I don't know. Oh, look, I haven't seen Dominic in a long time. There we go. See, every militant will freely give his life away for his companions in battle. An unacceptable... go ahead.
Can you zoom into that area, or is that picture stuck?
There you go. That better?
Yeah, can you give it one more click? Oh, that's enough. You can back out one. Yep. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Let's see. I hope that's better. Yes, Robert, it's better. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we can still hear you. This guy was saying, if that guy would just shut up and... no. Anyway. Let's see, back to where I was. Okay, so what happened is they went to Fort Laramie. They had this treaty. It was the shortest and easiest. Okay, because it was the shortest and easiest route from Fort Laramie to Oregon Trail to the famous Montana gold fields. Like I said, the thing is the Civil War was over. These people needed money. Gold is just free for the taking. And the government is saying, yes, we need all the gold we can because our money is backed by gold. Go out there and dig, people, dig. Right? From 1864 to 1866, the trail was traversed by about 3,500 miners, immigrant settlers, and others who competed with the Indians for the diminishing resources near the hostile trail. Like I said, they're killing the buffalo as they go. They're killing the elk, the deer, anything that moves, you got to eat, right? And if the Indians, that's all they eat, well, you're going to eat the same thing.
Well, but also remember that, as they moved westward, that also started the great Buffalo Massacre.
Yes, and that's the thing. The Buffalo Massacre started in 1866 or 68, right in that area too, because all these people, and the industry was coming, and they found out that what happened is somebody created a process to process buffalo hide into good leather, because normally you couldn't process the bull buffalo hide very well. It's too thick. You could only do the cow. Remember, we did a show on that.
Yeah.
And once they had this process for processing this really heavy duty, the bull. Well, now you can just go out there. We need that. We're making belts out of it for machinery. We're making coats. We're making furniture. Anything that you use leather for, or things for, they were doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I mean, for example, the leather was really tough. So in some instances, they couldn't use it for shoes or something like that, but they could use it for hinges.
Oh, yeah, because it was tough.
Hinges, and things like that. And just stuff that, today we go, no. If they needed something, that thick leather was good for a lot of stuff to them. But like you said, when the Eastern folks found ways to use it, and they used a stretching way you can wet leather and stretch it. In fact, when you work leather, you wet it. When you cut it, when you stamp it, it's always wet, at least damp. And so, but you can stretch the leather, and they had machines that they would run the leather through, and they also had presses that pressed it down and stretched it. So when it came out the other end, it wasn't quite as thick. It wasn't real thin, but they could stretch it and make it smaller. So, but anyway, and then it became valuable. It's like, okay, come on, bring it on.
Yeah. No, the Crow tribe is not where they eat crow. No, no, it's not. It has nothing to do with the crow eating.
Nope.
No, not at all. Okay, so the United States named the war after Red Cloud, who was allied. He finally allied. This is why I think that these wars were more powerful than all the rest, because these tribes were uniting finally. Finally, after hundreds of years of fighting, they finally said, "Hey, you know what? We're all Indians and they're all white men. Why are we fighting amongst ourselves? Let's fight them." So he allied with the Cheyenne, the Arapaho. The United States Army had built forts in response to the attacks on the civilian travelers, using a treaty right to establish roads, military, and many other posts. All three forts were located in 1851 Crow Indian Territory and accepted by these Indians. The Crow believed they guarded their interests best by cooperating with the U.S. Army. Red Cloud's War was considered mostly of consistent small scale raids. Like I was saying before, it's all guerrilla warfare. And attacks on the soldiers and the civilians at the three forts and the Powder River country, wearing down those garrisons. The largest action of the war was the Fetterman fight, with 81 men killed on the U.S. side. Was the worst military defeat suffered by the U.S. on the Great Plains until the Battle of Little Bighorn in the Crow Indian reservations 10 years later. Okay, instead of sending more men in retaliation, the government sent a commission to talk with the Sioux. The meeting ended with what came to be called the Fort Laramie Treaty. And if I can pull this up, see what happened is they were building these forts, and I gotta get rid of this one and put this one back up. Well, like I said, you got the Bozeman Trail, Fort C.F. Smith, Fort Philip Kearny, the Bighorn Mountains. This is their territory. Fort Reno, and it goes down all Fort Laramie. So as long as the people stayed on the Oregon Trail, everything was fine. But when they started going up this way, things got bad. Right?
Yeah, when they started wandering off that trail.
And here is Fort Kearny. And I got a picture of Fort Kearny somewhere here. I thought I did. Fort Kearny, this is what a fort would have looked like laid out, all fenced in. And you got so you're safe. And the Indians didn't really attack the fort so much because they knew they couldn't get close because they had cannons in the fort. You know, howitzers, they would fire on you. They could see you coming for a mile and they could fire on you. But here's the problem. You're all fenced in, right? You'd let your cows, your horses and stuff had to live somewhere. They got to eat grass. So you go out and you had grass. You got to go and cut some firewood. You want to build things. You got to get wood. You got to get food. You got to get. Well, Red Cloud was smart enough to figure out that if he just surrounded the fort, stole their cows, stole their horses, shot people when they came out of the fort, people would be terrified, and they were very terrified because that's how his strategy worked. So they lost like 700 cows, and they were down to like 40 cows, and they lost a lot of horses, and they lost a lot. And you got to remember too, these guys. There's a Fetterman fight. These guys that went out here, I was reading, they weren't real horsemen. How could you not live in those days and not be a horseman?
Yep.
They had to teach them how to ride horses. They had to teach them how to, do all kinds of stuff. They didn't know the guns they brought out there were not good guns. They were rusty. They were old. Some of them didn't even work. They weren't repeating rifles. So they had this old musket weaponry, and they're going out there to fight the Indians. And so the Indians held their ground because, they were riding. They had horses, and they could move fast, and they struck. They would crawl on the ground in the tall grass until they got to you, and then they'd spring up and start shooting you with all these arrows. They could have a couple arrows in the air. Here's a
in no time.
In no time, exactly.
And
See all.
mostly what it amounted to was draw your saber.
Yeah.
So the men on horseback, had one shot with their muskets, and they didn't really have, revolvers at that time. So they were relying on an old tactic and just using their swords. They draw your sabers and off they'd go. I mean, just like the medieval days, really.
Yes. Yeah. So as you can see, when we put this picture up, let's see, we're gonna shrink this, put this one up. Okay, so here you got their treaty of Fort Laramie, and look how big this is. This is all their land, all the way from Nebraska, all the way up into North Dakota. And then when you, why isn't this going? I had it, and then okay, so today they shrank up all of that down to this. This is it. So at one time you had all of this land, and now this is a reservation here. So, so if you go to South Dakota, a lot of this is reservation land. And you got Pine Ridge,
Yep.
Rosebud, Yankton, Santee, Crow Creek, Cheyenne River, Standing Rock, Sisseton. I'm close to Standing Rock. I probably drove by there, through there. Yeah, I have drove through. I think I-90 goes through there or something. Anyway, so those were some of the things that were going on. So here we go. Red Cloud was the last to sign the Treaty of Fort Laramie, which took place on a cool spring day in 1868, which, ended that war at that point. Now, he ended the war, but that didn't mean everybody did, because remember, when they sign, they call it touching the pen. Remember? They don't know how to sign their name, so they just touch the pen. It means they signed. The treaty established. What did the treaty do? The treaty established the Great Sioux Reservation, covering the territory of West River, the West River, west of the Missouri River, in present-day Nebraska, which had been admitted as a state in 1867 and included parts of South Dakota. And we're gonna shrink this. Yeah. So there we go. You can see better of this now. South Dakota. There we go. So uneasy relations between the expanding U.S. Of course, the U.S. is expanding. We need more land. The natives continued. In 1870, Red Cloud visited Washington, D.C. and met with the Commissioner of Indian Affairs, Eli S. Parker, a Seneca, and the U.S. Army General, and the U.S. President Ulysses S. Grant. In 1871, the U.S. government established the Red Cloud Agency, he even got an agency named after him, on the Platte River, downstream from Fort Laramie. And as outlined in the Treaty of 1868, the agency staff were responsible for issuing weekly rations. Now get this, weekly rations to the Oglala Sioux, as well as providing annually distributed supply of cash and annuity goods. What did you do? You just made all those Indians welfare cases. That's what it
Yep.
is. We're gonna put you on the res, and the Indians thought it was like prison. Um, okay, the agent at the Washington officials would determine how much of the annuity was to be paid in cash and goods, and sometimes the supplies were late, in poor condition, inadequate amount, or never arrived at all. So they were starving. They were trapped and they were starving. What more could go wrong? With a peace achieved under the Fort Laramie Treaty in 1868, the Lakota and their allies were victorious. They gained legal control of the western Powder River country, took down the forts, and permanently closed the Bozeman Trail. That is until the Great Sioux War. The victory, however, only endured for 8 years until the Great Sioux War of 1876, when the U.S. started to take some of their territories again, including the sacred Black Hills, which was now the hot spot for many gold miners and settlers. And there you go, because the Black Hills are right in there too. South Dakota, right here is where the Black Hills is, right at the top. Right here, Montana and this area. This is the Black Hills. Anyway, of course, 1874, General George Custer went out there on a mission to the Sioux territory to report gold in the Black Hills. And that just was all wrong, because now, you're saying there's gold in them there hills. Go get it, people. A wave of white people started for the Black Hills, and the Indians, it was terrible. In May of 1875, Lakota delegations headed by Red Cloud, Spotted Tail, and Lone Horn traveled to Washington again in an attempt to persuade the then President Grant to honor existing treaties and to slow the flow of miners into the land. The leaders met on various occasions with Grant, the Secretary of Interior, Delano, and the Commissioner of Indian Affairs, Mr. Smith. He told them on May 27th that Congress had already resolved the matter by paying the tribes $25,000 for their land and resettling them into Indian territory located in Oklahoma. Isn't that nice? We're going to give you $25,000, send you to Oklahoma. There you go. The Great Sioux leaders refused to sign such a treaty with Spotted Tail, reported saying about the proposal. When I was here before, the president gave me my country, and I put my stake down in a good place, and there I want to stay. You speak of another country, but it's not my country. It does not concern me, and I want nothing to do with it. I was born there. If it is such a good country, you ought to send the white men now in our country there and let us alone. Isn't that what such wise words? If it's such good country, send the white men there.
That's right.
The chiefs were unsuccessful in finding peaceful situation. They did not join Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull on the warpath. Okay, so what happened there, and I'm going to give you a little tidbit behind this. They wanted to buy the land from the Indians, right? In the first treaty, they offered the Indians 55 cents an acre. In the second treaty, the Indians wanted, a buck and a half an acre. The price went up. And, of course, they said no.
They got smart.
Yes, they did. They started learning about money, and that was dangerous. The great chief when you learn about money, that changes everything.
And because Red Cloud was going to Washington regularly, having gone several times, he's also a learned man. He ain't stupid. He knows he's learned how to negotiate, and he's learned some politicking, you know what I mean? And so, but at the same time, think about this. He's going to negotiate giving up his property.
Yeah.
They're saying, look, we're fixing to take it.
Yep.
We're one way or the other, you're going to move. And here's what we're going to give you, but this is our offer. Take it or leave it. We're going to get rid of you one way or the other. Now imagine him going to Washington, facing that kind of a showdown, if you will. Like, wait a minute, it was hours before, and now what was it, 7 or 10 years later? Now they're going to take it back.
Yeah, exactly.
And break the treaty that they had before. Oh, wait, well, we're going to pay you for it, but then you're going to have to move to Oklahoma.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to pay you for it, but we're only going to give you a small pittance. How nice is that? And
really
send you away. But that's how it is. They're probably looking at each other thinking, hey, we bought Manhattan Island for a handful of beads. Well, this should be about the same, right?
And by this time, the Indians, at least a few of them, have gotten a little, they've gotten a little savvy, like, wait a minute. I mean, the natives are horse traders by nature. So once they learned what the white man was up to, they became pretty decent horse traders, except every time they turned around, the white man kept, cheating, basically.
Yeah, that's what they said. The white man, the one thing the white man said, this is one of the wisest things he said was, the white man promised me many things, but he only kept one promise. He said he was going to take my land, and he did. Oh boy. Okay, so here we go. We're getting up to the custard battle. So the great Chief Red Cloud was now part of an upcoming battle. He was not, he was getting old, and growing in age. He was not in the battles. And just like you said, he was now more of a counselor than a warrior. But he did have a son who was a part of the battles to come. And in midday on June 25th, 1876, Custer and 600 men entered the Little Bighorn Valley. Word quickly spread in the impending attack. The older Sitting Bull rallied the warriors and saw to the safety of the women and children, while Crazy Horse set off on a large force to meet the attackers. And we all know what happened. And then Custard was killed, and he was overwhelmed, and 200 men in this battalion were attacked by as many as 3,000 Indians. Within an hour, Custer and all of his soldiers were dead. The Battle of Little Bighorn, also called Custer's Last Stand, marked one of the most decisive Native American victories and the worst U.S. Army defeat in the Plains Indian Wars. And the demise of Custer and his men outraged many white Americans and confirmed their image of the Indians that was wild and bloodthirsty. Okay, confirm their image of the Indians. Okay, and why was this? Is because back in the East, they were printing up how the Indian was a savage, and how all the bloody, gory things he would do to you. And he must be a savage because he doesn't just kill you. He cuts your head off. He takes your entrails out. He would cut. And this is close your ears, little kids. Anyway, he would cut the men's dinglings off and stick them in their mouth, and the women they would cut the women's and private parts off, I mean, talk about crazy, but they would talk about these things like, yeah, they scalp you and they do all these things, and then they stick you on a tree, and they were trying to say, hey, look, I'm going to do this guy, don't you come down this road, but people just kept coming like they're idiots. You know what I mean? Oh, the Indians will scalp you. Well, let's get going, right? They ain't gonna scalp me. I got a gun. Yeah, 2,000 Indians come over a hill. Yeah, And where are you gonna use that gun? You're using your gun on yourself. Uh, Lieutenant General Phil Sheridan. There's a good story about this Phil Sheridan guy. Was determined to break the power of the Plains Indians once and for all. He ordered Colonel Mackenzie of the 4th Cavalry to camp later Fort Robinson in Nebraska Territory to disarm the Sioux leader Red Cloud. One morning in 1876, a few months after the fall of Custer, Red Cloud awoke to find his camp surrounded by Colonel Mackenzie and his men, who disarmed his people and brought them into the Fort Robinson, Nebraska. The following year, they were removed to the Pine Ridge Reservation, where Red Cloud spent his final 30 years as a reservation Indian. Go figure. And where is this? So there you go. There's your reservations. Here's the Rosebud. Here's, so wow. Pine Ridge. Where's Pine Ridge? Let's see. Pine Ridge, right here. So he spent the last 30 years of his life right here in Pine Ridge, which is on the back southwest corner of South Dakota.
It's south of the Badlands.
Yes, south of the Badlands.
And also south of the Black Hills, too.
Yes, so he didn't get either one of his places he liked. During his later years, the great Chief Red Cloud lost his sight and had little to do with his people's affairs. On a cold winter's day in 1909, at the age of 88, Red Cloud passed on to the spirit world at Pine Ridge. He was one of the last living great chiefs and is buried on his home reservation of Pine Ridge, South Dakota. Wow. And there you go with that. But anyway, I got some more pictures to show us, and if I can find them. Now we're going to start with, oh, here's a good one. I mean, some of these, I mean, he lived a long time, so they had photos. Here he is in his final years. You can figure he's 80 some years old at this point. He's blind. He can't see. His eyes are swollen shut. It's probably from the horrible food they were feeding him. And but he was on that reservation for 30 years, so he learned to act like a white man. Dress like a white man, wear a hat, things like that.
He had to be dapper when he went to Washington.
Yes, exactly. There you go, and this is his younger years. It's probably his son or somebody. I don't know. Who knows? I really don't know who these guys. But here's Red Cloud. So he got around. He stayed around a long time. He was a smart man, like you said. He got up in his older years. He was very good at counseling, things like that. Little tidbits I want to say were, he was smart about what he did. He did the best he could. He fought as long as he could, and he made a deal when he had to. Because I think he knew already that after he went to Washington, I read a bunch of stuff about him that he kind of knew, and he basically said, I want my way of life, and I'm going to fight until I die for it. Because and I think he already knew that the war was lost before he even started. Because once he went to Washington, can you imagine? You're out on the plains. The biggest structure you ever seen was maybe a big log cabin, and then you get on a train, and then you probably go to Washington, where you see all these giant buildings and giant boats and roads and houses and
machinery.
And machinery, yes.
Machines like they've never seen. I mean, out there on the plains, it's very simple. And you go into a city and there's streetcars, and there's electricity. I mean, I just imagine, what a culture shock that was. But I agree with you. And what he saw was, we ain't stopping these folks. They have machines.
Yeah,
they got stuff that we don't have. We don't have a chance.
Yeah, it's like a whole nother world. You got to figure. Look at here; they're out here shooting with bows and arrows. This is just a picture, but this is one of the battles. And the men. You got limited amount of men. With usually they were in groups of 100 to 200 men, sometimes less, and fighting hundreds and hundreds of Indians at a time. And that's the only time the Indians actually won fights, is when there was small group of men and hundreds of Indians, because here's these guys shooting point blank at them, and the Indians are just lobbing arrows. Look at this guy, he's got a gun with a bayonet on it. This guy, he's got to pull his bow back to shoot. I mean, anyway. And look at, like, here's a situation. You put your horses in the middle, and the Indians run around and the men just sit there and pick them off, because you can't lob your arrow that far. You know what I'm saying? And the horses are. Can you imagine being in this battle here? You got the guys in a big circle just shooting, like shooting ducks in a barrel. And yeah, sure, a few guys are going to get shot and killed, but the horses are safe. The Indians are running and going as fast as they can, so they don't. And then look at this guy here. He must have got killed. He's falling off his horse. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It must have been terrible. And then at the last, the Indians would overwhelm them, and then they would do hand-to-hand combat, where it's one of those deals. But anyhow.
And depending on when it was, like when that picture, there's that guy in the foreground. It almost looks like he's, trying to reload. And so, did they have those Winchesters by that time, or did they still have the single shot?
Well,
And there was a transition period in there, so it depends. They might have been trying to reload.
well, and that's the thing is, here, we'll stop sharing for a second. Anyway, that's the thing. There was a lot to do with a lot of these things, and there was, oh, shoot, hit the wrong button. Okay, so you got the where is this coming up? Sorry about this. Red Cloud's War. The thing was is they were putting these forts, and then you got the last one. That came up. Where is it? I got the names here somewhere. But anyway, Fetterman's fight, for instance, right? They were at the fort. The fort's surrounded. They had to go cut firewood. They had to do these things to survive. But the Indians kept knocking them down, knocking them down. The guy in charge of the fort, he was smart, and he got a, I don't know, he was some smart guy. I forget what his name is. I had it all figured out in my head, but I can't remember his name right now. I'm bad with that. But anyway, he had a military band come to the fort. Why? Because they had repeating rifles that the band did. But his troops did not have repeating rifles. They were more infantrymen. So they didn't know how to ride horses very well. They couldn't do a lot of things, and they didn't have repeating rifles. They had single shot Spencers or black powder rifles. And that gave the Indians that advantage, because you know as well as I do that black powder rifle don't shoot very far. Where
And it takes a couple minutes for you to, you know, get that wad out and get your thing and pour your powder in, and you're being shot at.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and that's what happened in the Fetterman fight. They were saying that the soldiers hunkered down to fight, but the Indians came at them so fast they couldn't reload their guns, because
Yeah.
they were still had the old type guns, so they couldn't load their guns and fight back. And because they just started using their guns as clubs and swinging, and the battle was lost for them already. There was 1,000 Indians and 80 guys, and they went down in a valley, and the Indians popped their heads out, and they just started shooting left and right. We heard about the Fetterman battle in when we were reading about Black Kettle, or not Black Kettle, but Black Elk, Black Kettle, Black Elk. Remember, he told the story about the Fetterman fight, that it was cold too. See, that was another thing. The as I began the story tonight, the Indians would fight and have war in the summer, fight their enemies. In the fall, they would buffalo hunt. In the winter, they would rest. And in the spring, they'd buffalo hunt. And in the summer, they would fight again. And now the soldiers were there, and the soldiers brought the fight during the war, or the winter. The war became an all-season thing, and the Indians didn't know what to think about it, because the soldiers would come in, destroy their teepees and their food supplies, and now it isn't time to go hunt buffalo. But you're hungry, you got no food. The soldiers came in and burnt your village down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was
They
bad.
interrupted their natural flow.
Yes, it did. And
I
then of
mean,
course,
and a lot too. Not just a little bit, but a lot. It really messed them up when they came in the fall or winter and tore down the teepees and got rid of their food. They were standing there with nothing.
yeah. Scotty Boy says repeating rifles came out in 1860. Yeah, they barely came out. People didn't even have them for the Civil War. Just at the end of the Civil War, they started, and they were really expensive. And so not everybody, had it going on. So, like I said, even the soldiers out west didn't have that opportunity to have the repeating rifle. Scotty says,
Yeah, it took a while for them to move west.
yes,
Because the American government had to buy them, and so they were like, "Yeah, y'all can just get away with them." But then when the move to go west became really important and that they wanted to put the Indians down, then they started sending them better weapons.
Yeah, and but you got to remember, in 1860, from 1868 to 1876, that's 10, almost 10 years. That's 8 years to, resupply your troops with good weapons.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyway, okay. So, Scotty Boy says 20 after. Come on, get on with the story. Sorry. Okay, yeah. Where else are you streaming? I am streaming. Where else am I streaming? I am streaming on the Milky Way Soul Tribe channel, and I'm streaming on Robert V Adventures. So, whichever one you want to get to. So I can do that. But anyway, what story we got tonight?
Speaking of, we got war between Senecas and Cherokee.
Okay, war between Senecas and Cherokee. Okay, I'm going to put a link, if I can find it here. Where is analytics streaming settings? Oh, URL link copy.
And this thing is so touchy.
Oh.
Be up and down arrows.
Yeah. So,
You hit the bar, and the next thing you know, you're 10 pages down. So hopefully that won't happen.
Yeah. Why has this come up this way? Yeah, there's two people, Robert. Oh man.
Keep everybody busy for a minute. I need a drink, and I'm out here, so I need to go to the refrigerator for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay, I am going to paste the link, copy, and paste the link. Here is the link for the Milky Way Soul Tribe. There you go. If you didn't get that, that's the one for Milky Way Soul Tribe, and then you're probably on the other one. Is if you don't see all the people. So there we go. If you want to get on that one, that's the one everybody's on in chat mostly. So where is the cool kids hanging out tonight? Yeah, I don't know where the cool kids are tonight. Oh, yes. Nina says, don't worry. Me and Robert will be going live on our alternate channels tomorrow night. That's Stupid Talk and Stupid Talk Daily and the non-religious Truth channel for the news you need to know. Yes, we got a lot of news to talk about tomorrow night, so tune in. Yes, it's going to be good. Oh, yeah, there you go. You're moving over. Good deal. I haven't posted a link to it yet because I haven't posted it yet because I worked until I got home, which is just before this show. Anyway, I got this pulled up, and I'm going to shrink this. And like I said, I hope you all enjoyed that bit about Red Cloud. You know what it was really hard to do was find any information about Red Cloud's younger years, and there really wasn't much out there about Red Cloud. Believe it or not, being such a famous chief, the only thing they really talk about is Red Cloud's war, the Fetterman fight, And we were talking about the propaganda. The propaganda always said this is what it was. Well, the Indians massacred the troops. But if it was the troops massacring the Indians, it was a battle. That's how it went.
Yep.
Don't forget, Nina's got Hump Day message tomorrow. Tune in to that. Okay, I got it. You got it ready? I got to put up here. Present your screen. Tires. There we go. Now, I hope I got the right one. War between the Senecas and the Cherokees?
That's it.
Okay, we're good. And I'm going to do this and this. This. Like that. And don't forget, tomorrow, 3 p.m. I'm on the West Coast. Scotty Boy, 3 p.m. on the West Coast for Hump Day. I'm in both now. There you go. He's in both of them. Good deal. That'll give me the algorithm I need. And let's see, what else? Unacceptable living in left field. Thank you for joining us tonight. Anyway, there we go. It's going to be a good story. Now, as soon as you're ready, I'm going to drop out.
I'm ready. So, first story tonight is War Between Senecas and Cherokees. The characters are Hatsenodo, Haiwaninyo, the Great Spirit. This next one, Indikakaya. The usual word is Gegewa. And then there is, which is sun or orb of day, and non no huts heron. Hatsunundo was a great warrior, the greatest of all the Senecas. Once, when out with his party of warriors, he came to a high cliff, and knowing that the Cherokees were on the lookout, he told his men to stay where they were, and he would go ahead and see what could be done. He hadn't gone far when a party of Cherokees saw him and started in pursuit. Hatsunindo ran into tall reeds that grew in two great patches with a narrow space between them. He escaped from the first patch and hid in the second one. His pursuers thought that he was in the first patch. They watched the narrow space and set fire to the reeds. When the reeds were destroyed, they expected to find him dead, burned up. Hatsunodo fell asleep in his hiding place. In the night, two men came, wakened him, and said, "Follow us. We have come for you." He went with the men, and after a time, one of them pointed at a house and said, "Nunahuts, the man who lives there sent for you." He went to the house, but could find no door. After a while, a voice called, "Come in." A door opened, and he went in and saw a man who said, "I sent for you, and you have come. Are you hungry?" Hatsunodo smiled and said in his mind, "That's a strange question. That's not the way I do. I give food." No, Hotspot laughed, and he knew the man's thoughts. He brought out a half a loaf of acorn bread, half of a wild apple, and half of a pigeon. Hatsunodo said, "How little will fill me? If you eat all of this, I will give you more," said No, Hotst. As the Seneca ate, he noticed that each thing became whole again, that he was unable to finish either the loaf, the apple, or the pigeon. When he had eaten all he could, No Hotst said to him, "Now I will talk with you." Just then the door was thrown open and sun came in so quickly and with such brightness that Hatsunodo had to hold down his head. Sun spoke to No Hotst and right away hurried off towards the east. Then No Hotst said, "That is the man you call the Orb of Day. It is night down below, and he is hurrying to the east. He told me of a great battle." No Hotst was Haiwaninyo, the Great Spirit, and he said, "That is what I expected when I made people. I thought they would fight. Hereafter, when you meet an enemy, don't run away. Go up to him. He can't harm you. No arrow can kill you. I am the cause of the Senecas not fighting with the Cherokees. You will find your warriors where you left them. Now the Hadionsko, the spirits are ready to go with you. Hatsunodo went out, passed through an opening, as he thought, and found himself in the reeds. He got back to his party and told the men what he had seen, and they all went home. Soon after this, the Seneca held a council, and the warriors decided to go again to the Cherokee country. When the Senecas and the Cherokee met, Hatsinodo, remembering what Nono Hats had told him, went straight up to a Cherokee warrior, killed and scalped him, and then called out, I have killed and scalped a man. My name is Hatsinodo. After that, there was a battle and many men were killed. But the Senecas won and went home carrying a large number of scalps. Another party started off to fight the Cherokee. This time, Hatsinodo was captured. He was tied and led to the Cherokee village. It was a Cherokee custom when a man was captured to leave it to two women to say how he should be tortured. The two women decided that Hatsinodo was to be bound to a tree and burned to death. They tied him to a tree and piled up dry brush and wood around him. He thought, now I am going to die. But just as the women were setting fire to the brush, a terrible rain storm came and everyone ran for shelter, leaving the Seneca bound to the tree. While he was there alone, an old woman came to him and said, my grandson, you think that you are going to die, but you are not. Try to move. He moved. The thongs fell off and he was free. The woman said, I have returned your kindness. Once when your people were making a circle of fire, you saw a toad inside the circle. You took it up and put it in your bosom, and when you came to water, put it down. I was that toad. Now when I saw you in trouble, I brought rain to save you. Go to the river and run with the current. When the rain was over, the Cherokee women came back to the tree and found that their prisoner was gone. They raised an alarm. Men ran together, found tracks, and followed them. When they came to the river, they lost the trail, and after a time, they abandoned pursuit and went home. Two men came and sat down near Hatsiendo's hiding place, and one said to the other, it is strange where that man went. The Seneca was afraid they would discover where he was, but at last they went away. Then he went down the stream some distance and struck off toward the south. Toward night he came to an opening and saw three men building a fire. He watched and listened till dark, then crept up to a place opposite the fire and found the men were asleep. He stole their weapons and their provisions. The next morning he traveled in a circle till he found the trail by which he and his party had come. Soon he saw men sitting around a fire. He crept near and heard Seneca words. Then he called, Gowee, Gowee, 3 times. The men shouted with joy and ran to meet him. This is their story.
And there we go. Good one. No heads, no chopping off of things. Oh my gosh. He was
Yeah, really.
captured. I thought for sure the old woman was gonna kill him. Instead, she let him go.
Yeah, but she was a toad. How about that one?
Yeah.
And had returned the kindness. Now, see, it's the little things in life. You never know.
Yeah. Little things in life are always good. Yeah,
Great expectations.
that's how I live my life. Little things are important.
Yep. So,
Right.
shall we read one more, or
Why not?
okay?
Why not? Why
Uh,
not?
this next one is Turtle on the Warpath. Just whoa, Turtle on the Warpath. Okie dokie. Here, let me get a sip of my drink. Clear my throat. Ahem. All right. And our next story for tonight, and it doesn't have any characters, which is strange, and it's called Turtle on the Warpath. A turtle lived near a river. One day he thought, I'm lonesome. I'll go on the warpath. And getting into a canoe, he rowed upriver singing, I am on the warpath, I am on the warpath. When he had gone a short distance, a man came to the bank and called, Friend, stop a minute. I will go too. We will go on the warpath together. Turtle landed. On the bank stood Deer. Deer said, I want to go with you. Turtle answered, First, let me see you run. We may get beaten and have to run for our lives, and unless we can run very fast, we'll get scalped and killed. Run to that mountain over there and back. Deer ran to the mountain and was back in no time. Turtle said, You can't go. You don't run fast enough. Only fast runners can go with me. And Turtle started off in his canoe singing, I am on the warpath, I am on the warpath. Soon another man came to the bank and called, Stop, come to the bank. I want to go on the warpath with you. Turtle landed and said to the man, You must let me see you run. I'll not take you unless you can run very fast. Run to the second mountain. The man was Skunk. He showed his strength and started, but Turtle called, Come back. That is enough. You can go. They got into the canoe and started, Turtle singing, I am on the warpath, I am on the warpath. You, brothers, smell rather strong. Soon a man called to them, Stop! You must land. I want to go on the warpath with you. This man was Bear. Turtle landed and told Bear to run to the mountain. He started off and soon came back. Turtle said, You won't do. You don't run fast enough. You don't run fast enough to suit me. And he pushed off again, singing, I am on the warpath, I am on the warpath. You, brother, smell rather strong. Another man called to them from the bank. They landed and went up. The man was Hedgehog, and he wanted to go on the warpath. Turtle said, If you are a good runner, I will take you. Run to that mountain over there. Hedgehog turned and started to run. His feet crossed each other. He stumbled and nearly rolled over. He had taken but a few steps when Turtle said, "Stop. You'll do. Come down to the canoe." The three started, Turtle singing, "We are on the warpath, we are on the warpath. You, brother, smell rather strong. You, brother, have many arrows, his quills." Now Elk called from the bank, "Stop, come to land. I want to go on warpath." Turtle landed and told Elk to run to the second mountain and back as quickly as he could. Elk started, and in a very short time he was back, smashing and breaking limbs and boughs as he came. Turtle said, "You can't go." And getting into the canoe, he started off, singing as before. Soon, a man appeared on the bank and called, "Bring up the canoe. I'll go with you." "I'll come and see you run," said Turtle. "I'll only take fast runners, for something may happen while we are gone. We may have to run for our lives. Go to the second mountain." Rattlesnake rose up to go. "Oh, you'll do," said Turtle. "You may come with us." The four started, with Turtle singing, "We are on the warpath, we are on the warpath. You, brother, smell rather strong. You, brother, have many arrows. You, brother, have a black face." Turtle was going to make war on the seven sisters, and their home wasn't far away. The warriors reached the place and pulled the canoe out of the water. Then Turtle said, "Each man must choose the place he wants to be in when the war begins." Skunk said, "I will be near the fireplace and will attack the first person I see." Hedgehog said, "I'll hide near the house in that pile of wood, and I will attack the first person who comes for wood." Rattlesnake said he would get into the skin bucket where they kept dried corn, and he would attack the first one who came for corn. Turtle said, "I'll station myself by the spring, and if anyone comes for water, there will be a fight." Early in the morning, the mother of the seven sisters began to build a fire. Skunk attacked her, and she fell back almost dead. She couldn't open her eyes. When the seven sisters heard their mother scream, they ran to her. They saw the man and began to fight with him. All seven were attacked, but getting clubs, they pounded Skunk till they killed him. They threw him out of doors, then made a fire, and one of the sisters went for wood. When she stooped down to pick up sticks, she felt a blow on the arm, and looking, found that her arm was full of hedgehog quills. While the girl was fighting Hedgehog and screaming, her sisters came, and seeing Hedgehog, they picked up pieces of wood and struck him on the head and back until they killed him. One of the sisters wanted dried corn for breakfast. She went to the bucket and put her hand into it to get the corn. That minute, she felt a sharp blow. She saw Rattlesnake and called to her sisters. They came, armed themselves with sticks, and struck Rattlesnake till they killed him. But the sister he had bitten was dead. After a time, the old woman sent one of her daughters to get water. The girl went to the spring, and as she stooped over to dip up the water, Turtle caught her by the toe and held on. She tried and tried, but couldn't get him off. Then she walked backwards to the house, dragging him along. The old woman was so angry she screamed, "Throw him on the fire and burn him up." Turtle laughed and said, "You couldn't please me more. I came from fire, and I like to be in it better than anywhere else." The woman changed her mind and said, "I'll carry him to the river and drown him." Turtle cried, "Don't do that! Don't do that! I'll die!" He begged hard, but no use. They took him to the river and threw him in. He sank to the bottom, but right away he rose in the middle of the stream, held out his hand as if showing scalps, and shouted, "I am a brave man, and here is where I live." Then he sank out of sight. The end. Isn't that an interesting story? And a nice little short
Yes.
one there.
Yes, it is. That was good.
Nice little short one there. And well, I guess Hedgehog and them did get killed, but they did take out one of the sisters. They never
It
say
wasn't too bad.
they never say most of the time. They don't say why they want to make war. They just say, okay, we're going to go make war, or we're going to go attack such and such, or why? Well, but there's probably a backstory that we just don't know about before the story starts. Like, there's usually an old man or an old woman somewhere in the story. And so, if they're old, well, they've been around for a while and they've seen a few things and they've met some folks, So it ain't like they haven't done anything in their lives. They didn't just appear.
Yep, that's true.
So, but anyway, so
got cards pulled for tomorrow?
I'm working on it as we speak right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, there's one.
Yep.
Hmm.
Okay. Don't forget, people, join us tomorrow night. Me and Nina will be on. I am putting a link in the chat right now so you can join us tomorrow night on our alternate channel so we don't get scrubbed over here. So join us on Stupid Talk and Stupid Talk Daily and the Non-Religious Truth channel because we'll be on there tomorrow night. Okay, and I'm gonna find Nina's show here somewhere. If I can find this. Should have this. Yeah, here we go. Don't forget to go over there and subscribe because we need all the subscribers we get so we can spread the truth and talk about the news you need to know. Right? But it's good. Anyway, copy and paste. Yeah, people, here you go. Go over to Nina's Non-Religious Truth channel. Subscribe to that. Go over to my channel and subscribe to the news you need to know on Stupid Talk and Stupid Talk Daily. And that's Stupid Talk and Stupid Talk Daily. And it was all because of Scotty Boy. Believe it or not, the name was picked out by Scotty Boy, and I salute him. Thank you, Scotty Boy, for thinking of that name. I'm going with it. I'm going to make some shirts like that. Instead of Be the Frequency you want to receive, it's going to be Stupid Talk and Stupid Talk Daily. And I'm sure I'll send you one, Scotty Boy. Sub, like, and share then. Yes. Exactly. Sub, like, and share. I always forget to tell everybody that. But anyway, go over to those channels, Non-Religious Truth Channel and Stupid Talk and Stupid Talk Daily, where we're going to talk stupidly about the news. Again, yeah, there you go, Scotty boy. He said it all. When it comes, I'm your guy. Do that. I need all the subscribers I can. I think I got 38 subscribers on there already, and we need to grow the channel. We can be like, like one of these guys like Canadian Prepper. He's got 1.5 million people. When he talks, everybody listens. Oh boy, I'm just having way too much fun with this.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I got to know what the cards are, though.
Oh, well, I'm fixing to tell you.
Okay, you tell me.
First one out is Wolf.
Wolf. We haven't had Wolf in a while.
Number 15 in the book, and Wolf is teacher.
Teacher, yes. I love Wolf.
Teacher, pathfinder, moondog of my soul, howling and singing, teaching me how to know. Wolf is the pathfinder, the forerunner of new ideas, who returns to the clan to teach and share medicine. Wolf takes one mate for life and is loyal like dog. If you were to keep company with wolves, you would find an enormous sense of family within the pack, as well as a strong individualistic urge. These qualities make Wolf very much like the human race. As humans, we also have an ability to be a part of society and yet still embody our individual dreams and our own ideas. The senses of Wolf are keen, and the moon is its power ally. The moon is a symbol for psychic energy, or the unconscious, that holds the secrets of knowledge and wisdom. Baying at the moon may be an indication of Wolf's desire to connect with new ideas, which are just below the surface of consciousness. Wolf medicine empowers the teacher within us to come forth and aid the children of earth. They want me to read that again. Wolf medicine empowers the teacher within us, to come forth and aid the children of earth in understanding the great mystery of life. So we're all teachers in a way. And so pulling the wolf card, yeehaw, if you've drawn Wolf's card, you may be able to share your personal medicine with others. As you feel Wolf coming alive within you, you may wish to share your knowledge and your energy. It is the sharing of great truths that the consciousness of humanity will attain new heights. Listen to that again. It is in the sharing of great truths that the consciousness of humanity will attain new heights. Now that's just, oh yeah, buddy. Wolf would not come to you unless you requested the appearance of the tribe's greatest teacher. So somebody must have asked for that. They asked for it. Now the next card is Hummingbird, number 44. Whoops. It's right at the end. It's the last animal in the book. Hummingbird is joy. Hummingbird, joyful little sister, nectar you crave. All the sweetness of the flowers in the love you gave. Hummingbird is associated with the ghost shirt religion, which taught that a certain dance done properly would bring about the return of the animals and that white people would disappear. Once again, the original people would know the joy of the old ways. In Mayan teachings, hummingbird is connected to the black sun and the fifth world. Hummingbird can give us the medicine to solve the riddle of the consciousness of duality. Now that's some heavy stuff right there. The song of hummingbird awakens the medicine flowers. Hummer sings a vibration of pure joy. Flowers love hummingbird because nectar sucking brings about the reproduction of their families. Plants, flowers, and live because of hummingbird. If hummingbird is your personal medicine, you love life and its joys. Your presence brings joy to others. You join people together in relationships, which brings out the best of them. Turn the page. Hummingbird holds the bow of beauty, which is delicately inlaid with gold and silver flowers. If hummingbird is flown into your cards, get ready to laugh musically and enjoy creator's many gifts. Drop your judgmental attitude and relax. Hummingbird will no doubt give you a flash of the spirit, darting here and there and everywhere. Get ready for a strange new burst of energy. Follow Sister Hummingbird, and you will soon be filled with paroxysms of joy and experience a renewal of the magic of living. So that's joy with Hummingbird. And the last card tonight, both of those were up right side up, by the way. This last one, number 37, is antelope, and it was upside down. Antelope is action. Run, antelope. Teach me of action and its space. Quickly, quickly, so I may run with grace. When time was just beginning and the tribe of man was small, antelope saw that the two-leggeds were naked and hungry and in danger of extinction. The ancestors would soon vanish from Mother Earth if action were not taken. Antelope took action and came into the camp, calling all the two-leggeds together for counsel. Great Mystery sent me to teach you a lesson. The lesson is to do. You have no need to be fearful if you know what to do. And then you do it, Antelope said. And what shall we do? Asked the people. If you are naked and cold, you should kill me and take my coat to keep you warm. It is my gift to you. Do it. We will, said the people. But what of our hunger? We are starving. What can we do to save ourselves? If you are hungry, you should kill me and take my flesh, for it will nourish you and make you strong. It is my gift to you and a part of my evolution. It is my service. Do it. Antelope knew that humankind would survive the Ice Age if the people learned to eat meat. Before the movement of the great ice mountains, fruit and vegetables had been plentiful, and the two-leggeds had had no need to eat of the bodies of their fellow creatures. The clans of the second world ate antelope, taking the instinct and wisdom of the four-leggeds into their bodies. The people learned through each creature's essence how to survive. Now, antelope is up. Now, it's action. So the card's upside down. Contrary antelope is a signal that you are not listening. Ooh. And not acting on the will of the Great Spirit. You may be taking more than your share. Antelope medicine, in the contrary, makes you crazy and quarrelsome. You will certainly be indecisive and not know what direction to turn. You might be lying to yourself and others. Stop lying, even if you think it will get you off the hook. Contrary antelope will trip you at every turn. Quit being so conventional and following others all the time. Take your own authority. Let antelope's heart beat strong within you, and you will know the way. But as always, the message is do it. The fear of the unknown subsides once action begins. They want me to read that again. The fear of the unknown subsides once action begins. That is so true. I mean, it just, if you're afraid of doing something, once you get into it, it's like standing at the top of the hill, and you're gonna ski down it. You stand there and stand there and stand there, and then but once you push off, So contrary antelope may also be telling you that a decision to start is now necessary. The main elements in procrastination is lack of conviction. To honor your chosen destiny is to honor your commitment to doing what you proclaim you're doing. That's an interesting statement. Walking your talk is the essence of antelope people. Talking your walk is contrary antelope. Walking your talk is the essence of antelope. Talking your walk is contrary antelope personified. To write the contrary antelope, 3 things are necessary. Have the desire to do something. Make the firm decision to begin that action. And number 3, do it. So there are cards for tonight. Teaching, joy, and the action to do it. Not bad. Not bad. Thank you, Creator, and thank you all.
Absolutely. I think those were great. I love the wolf, and we've had antelope like a couple weeks either ago or last week, but it's just telling you think and then take action.
Yeah, but it was upside down this time.
Oh,
last
okay.
time it was right side up.
But I mean, it's still coming out of, kind of taking action.
Yeah, take action. Absolutely. Yeah.
But
absolutely.
But I'm saying, and Wolf is a thinker, and stuff.
And the teacher.
And the teacher, yes. So be wise and then have action with a little bit of hummingbird in there.
And be and take joy in it, So that that thank you. Be joyous when you're teaching and do it. Absolutely. Take action. Thank you very much. Not a bad bit of information.
Yeah. Well, I hope you all learned something tonight. Remember that you can go back and rewatch some of these episodes from back. We did a long time ago talking about some of these different Indian wars and Sitting Bull and all these guys and how things progress. But when it all boils down to it, it's kind of always no matter what Indian tribe or chief I talk about, it's always about the same thing. It's kind of sad. And you really have to really do some research. My show is just about waking you up about it. Now, if you're interested in it, go out and learn about it. Learn about something, and then enjoy the stories that David tells. They're wonderful. They have a little bit of meaning. Sometimes they're just great entertainment. Right? Isn't that kind of how it goes?
Yeah, because sometimes it's supposed to teach, but sometimes it's like, okay, I don't know what the lesson is about chopping folks' heads off, but
I,
maybe it's to not get your head chopped off, but anyway.
it's a little bit of entertainment. It's just like even
Yep.
a show or TV or movie, you had to have a little bit of, oh, what, to make you pay attention.
Yeah,
So
but we're
maybe,
and and it's you gotta turn the lights down low and burn a candle and think about sitting around a campfire, you know.
hmm
And
exactly.
one of the elders is telling this story. So, but
That's right.
anyway,
That's right. Take an example from all of this. Remember, the things that we have are just things. These people were probably pretty darn happy back in the day, just having, company, good stories, and a campfire, staying warm with a little bit of food. Today, we are so spoiled. Every one of us has a TV or a cell phone or this computer you're watching me on, one or the other, and food and heat, clothing. We don't have to go kill animals to have clothing anymore. And we'll stay warm. We got everything we want. We get sick, we go to the doctor. We're well and healthy. We go for a hike. We eat good food right at your grocery store. We don't have to hunt for it, work for it. It's just there. And yeah, we got to work and and I think Scotty Boy says the best. Appreciate. Appreciate. Yes.
and thinking about the cowboys and folks on the trail, and the Native Americans a lot of times too, when the Indians were out traveling, short distances or overnight, them folks just laid down on the ground.
Yeah.
They just
They
laid down on the ground. And if they didn't have a blanket, they just laid down on the ground, and curled up and slept and got, some rest. So, comfortable beds or whatever. No, these folks were laying out under the stars in the open, just on the ground.
Yeah.
And if you've ever slept outside, early in the morning, the dew falls
hmm
and you can absolutely get soaking wet when the dew falls in the morning. And
Yes,
you
you
will
can.
wake up and your clothes are soaked and you go, what the heck? Did somebody pee on me? And you go, but no. And there's no real fog, but the dew fell. And man, oh buddy, it takes you a couple hours to get dried off. And it'll chill you to the bone if you're not careful. So, but
hmm
anyway, but them folks back in the day, they were tough. You hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. Very tough. Very tough. We got it made so well. People forget about it, but here's the biggest thing. Don't let those things around you tie you to this world. This is only here for a bit. Your things will rot and turn to dust and disappear. The only things you're going to be able to take with you, and you get to the other side, is your memories, the good times, the things you've done, and you take that with you and embrace it. Those
And
material,
hopefully the lessons you've learned.
yes, the lessons you learn, but that's the thing. Don't tie yourself to this. And remember, most importantly, everybody, go out, be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. Love you all. Peace, everybody.